This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And we are actually on a Hermes day turning into Soul Night and Venus hour. Venus here in the 8th house in Capricorn. Let's see how that plays out because this is Venus hour and she's ruled by Saturn in the 10th house. The ascendant is ruled by Mercury, so 21 degrees Gemini. Moon in Aquarius. The moon has just crossed Chiron. And let's just begin with a personal story, okay? I have told you that for me, I like to prepare like essential oils and stuff like that. But when it comes to makeup, I'm like terrible in that. So, what you see in the caption, I went to a shop and I asked the lady to try and simplify makeup routine for me and offer products. So, the lady's name is Rebecca. Just so that yeah, Rebecca, for those of you who want her details, this is Israel. So you add the plus 972 539 and that was something that happened, and I'm not blaming her. Is basically as she was putting on the makeup, she did something that they did during seventh October. And if you are watching from like Palestine or Maui or Crimea, or you are a survivor watching this video, that might ring a bell. And that was as she puts my makeup, she begins to use words like, I don't know, very weird shit that sound like somebody's sexually harassing you. And I want to pay attention. This is not me bashing her. It's actually something that happened to people around these times. So you can have completely normative people beginning to speak in that way. And it may or may not be that that woman is in danger, and is actually recruited to human trafficking and needs help. And that is kind of like her cover story. I told you that all sex work is sexpionage, and all espionage is sexpionage. So in this case, this is not that she is a spy. It's basically that very likely, if that is the case, she was tortured, kidnapped, and put in as this cover job to get information from people. And then basically what happens is that there is mind control. Okay. And there would be reason for that could trigger the mind control, because I told her about my residence situation, what's going on in the city, um, while she was doing my makeup. She's a great makeup artist. So if you are in the makeup industry, if you're a makeup artist and you've encountered such things, such MK Ultra, whether you felt that as you work, as you just try to do your job, somebody tries to do mind control for you. I can say my personal testimonials. I left Itamar Yaron, my ex-psychologist. There was this mind control because I was raising awareness to red flags when it comes to what we then knew as narcissistic abuse, and now I know it's full-blown MK Ultra. And he wanted me to change the name of the group, and it's kind of like not letting me go. And I'm still dealing with all of that crap, knowing that very likely that's something he like. It's kind of like he was abused, then he's mind controlled, then he tries to mind control me. Then unless you want to become like a pandemic of zombies, okay, let's raise awareness. So this is absolutely not bashing Rebecca, but preparing the stage that if she has a testimonial, if she remembers something like that, then I believe you, Rebecca, and that's normative. Okay, in our society, that's normative. You are not crazy. You are not imagining. You're not to blame for what happened to you, um, and of course to get a hold of that. And if there's anything anybody can do to assist you to go to a safe space, independent of like the people that keep you in there, will hold that frequency together. So that's just kind of like my morning. um, And that moon Chiron was touching on, I have naturally I have Aries in the second house, so that is income, that is your self value, and Aries rules the face. And so when it comes to my face, putting makeup on is something that I know accentuate is, we always look a little bit better, okay, more representative, a bit more put together when we put on makeup. But that's something that has been challenging for me to do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of work. Even what you see in the caption, she was like, we were sitting there for a good half an hour, and I just took off my makeup. I do my essential oils. I put my jojoba oil, just the jojoba oil, and I had to kind of take it off. So for you, it might be like a natural day. For me, it's a very weird experience because I like the face massage. Bless you. I like the face massage, but I'm like, hey, that's so challenging for me. Okay, I can do these videos all day, but when it comes to makeup, I think I will need a makeup artist. I will be one of those people that need to invite their makeup artist every day. That's for sure. Um, Other than that, I just go without, and I feel like, hey, that could be better, and I just need, kind of like a partnering to do that. So I was just exposed to what's happening in the world of makeup artists and makeup influencers, and that was something that I was not exposed to. Um, so if you're doing, if you've been there and you felt something tries to get a hold of you to try to make you lose your business, um, then that's, first of all, that's a part of the MK Ultra. Okay, it's a part of the MK Ultra, um, and you're not alone there. And I believe you, and you're not imagining. If there were attempts to recruit you to kind of like stuff that's not that. I know that they offer makeup courses for women that were, you know, trying to get out of like sex trafficking. Um, and I know that all sex work is sex espionage. So that is something that we want to change the discussion, not to allow ourselves to be gaslighted or mind controlled, but also not to shame and not to like completely dismantle a human being that maybe is trying to get out of sex trafficking, which is basically espionage that they never consented to. Um, and so that moon crossing over Chiron is really like curating my wound around being able to put on makeup, as well as tending to, second house is also our income, our business, and the fact that most jobs are now intelligence. Okay, most jobs are MK Ultra. Even the simple jobs are in this way, and that makes it very difficult for many people to hold a job. Okay, when I was before I was doing like what I'm doing today, um, then I ran into like a lot of scams at work, um, but the mind control stuff I only ran into in academia, like the for real, for real. Before that, a little bit, I ran into that. In the beginning, it was especially men, but now I see it's like it's men, it's women, and I want us to have a discussion, because many people are not able to work because they don't want to run into gaslighting, they don't want to run into MK Ultra. They used to call it narcissistic abuse. Now we understand it's way beyond that. I'm just listening to an interview by Darren Hayes, who had his new autobiography, and he talks about his dad, his abusive dad, and his dad would have one personality at one time, another personality another time, another personality, and then his sister and his mother would help him. Um, so and he said it's very possible that his dad was beat up by his grandfather, and that was just intergenerational trauma. And I was listening to that. I didn't read the book just yet because it's very difficult. I'm still battling all this weird shit, so to sit down and read a book is challenging. Um, and I definitely think that it can be that one of these fathers were, they had to be either they were affected by a cult, or they had to be part of a cult, or they were mind controlled, and that's the atmosphere. And Darren just developed his imagination thanks to like his mom and his sister, and became the artist that we know today. He's voting blue, and I have to say that Biden was MK Ultra. He's in the committees. Okay, it's like he was in the committees. So just to say that, and and that did not skip over the red either. I'm just listening to Elizabeth April around the kind of like Galactic Federation for 2025 to 2028, and she said there's going to be another assassination attempt with Trump, and I say it will be because Uranus is going to go over Al Gol direct. So of course there will be another attempt. There were in the last two, so there will be in the third one. But that's just plain astrology. But she saw it through channeling and a bunch of other stuff. So you might want to hop over and listen to her. Going back to this moon in Chiron, so moon conjunct in Chiron. Chiron is a wound, and that was to me kind of like a wound around my face. Okay, that how genuinely challenging it is to put makeup every day on and off. And I like to paint, but when it's something I have to do like every day, yeah, I was just like, oh, I was touching on that, and I was curating that because I was kind of preparing, when you test for like who could be makeup artist or how can I build a business, and maybe I can do it in myself, then you use the service of people. And in the meantime, the thought was like to advertise the person that does that and give them public exposure, because she really made my face look so much better and more presentable. And that was for daytime. If you need a camera, she probably has like camera, to look better in front of camera. And the second thing was the business, because as I tend to that, I tend to the fact that just the fact that she starts speaking in something that looks like sexual harassment in the middle of doing, okay, what she does, that is of course off-putting, and I immediately stopped it. I addressed it. I said, okay, that there are a lot of people that are hurt, men and women that are hurt, with the war and before the war, and that kind of language wouldn't work, and she had to change. And I had to like remind her a couple of times. And she saw it's not like whatever program persona came there saw it's not going to work with me. And then of course I took her own details and published that. But just to know that mind control can do that to anybody, okay? And so if I listen to Anneke Lucas, where she says she was a child that was kidnapped, tortured, and programmed to plant urges in people, and that would feed, to mind control people from afar, and would feed these urges. And she was, horrid as it sounds, they programmed her to be seductress to people, politicians that were also growing in this atmosphere. And this is a complex reality that now they're trying to transmit to everyone. But the good thing about it is that when something becomes a problem of many people, then many people tend to that, and they can come up with solutions. So that can, and we actually address the core solutions, we can stop ritual abuse, and begin to tend to curation all across the board, okay? And that would support, if I think about my second house of income, of business, of being self-made. Aries is the self-made person. And Chiron is a wound around being self-made, a wound around doing my makeup in myself, okay? But there's another thing. I was on X, And one of my colleagues was saying like, hey, we should all take our personal pictures off the internet perhaps, because they use it for AI or they use it for other things. And that was another cure. Okay, it's kind of like, hey, there's me thinking, well, in this world where you have to be representative and you have to look your best, and even if you like, even if I'm a fairly, fairly good looking person, especially for thinking about the two genders, and that has an allure to people, because it kind of like, you can't feel like that, it's like that. It's kind of like, very fascinating beauty. But with the makeup on, it's even more accentuated. Okay, that big nose and that makeup looks good for those who are compatible with that. Um, I said what I said. And and as I tend to like trying to improve upon, trying to get myself to put on makeup and look my best, um, then at this time I ran into, hey, maybe we should all take off all of our personal pictures from the web. And the fact that, hey, there genuinely is a wound, and that wound is not about me being not competent, and that might meet you too, but about the fact that it genuinely is an attempt to enslave humanity and make it unable to work, and so on and so forth. So as we address that, Aries also rules being innovative, um, and so as we address that, we are opposing here this Lilith in Libra, 15 degrees, and there's a mystic rectangle in the sky at the time of recording with the ascendant and Jupiter. So Jupiter is sextiling Chiron, Jupiter Gemini, and Jupiter Gemini is the way that we could use belief, for example, or mindset in our favor, the way that we could the practicals of religion. um, uh, there is a curation that happens here. So, for example, knowing that they're trying to have a one world religion and and enslave humanity at the same time can be so helpful to address the Chiron wound around your visibility and around the fact that there are a massive, like, if I take into consideration, the fact that good living conditions are, there's so much energy behind depriving people of good living conditions, so we look exhausted and tired even when we're young. And there was actually a YouTube about China where they have retired villages for youth. Okay, it's kind of like, that's the close, it's almost childhood, it's not childhood yet, that's almost like, take the dead vans off, and you don't need organ trade, because the internal organs will be fine when we eat good food and we play in the yard instead of industrializing children. so, so that is that Jupiter sextiling, and in a mystic rectangle, because there is this trying to Lilith in Libra, and the um, Mercury in Sagittarius. So there's this lovely reception between Mercury and Jupiter right now, and all that support for Lilith in Libra that keeps accentuating on that, let's just say, the person that was seeming crazy, that was seeming lazy, that was seeming excluded, that was even seeming aggressive and violent, but also the person that you didn't believe their story when they were a victim. Okay, that person, um, that person has a face, and now we are beginning to dredge up what's underneath what we see, and that allows us to create space for something different to arise. um, Look at this lot of fortune on the 22 degree of Capricorn. Okay, if we talk about the corporation of assassination through debt, through the medical field. And again, I was listening to the channel The Privileged Few, and she was talking about Albina. Okay, so basically her story was that there were very like business family in, and she said a lot of people that do business, this basically criminals, just sell weapon or stuff or worse. So they say the word business, and you see the symbolism of the cult all around. Okay, the rabbit hole. Um, and she said, um, yeah, she was talking about business, and she said that in a family where it's old money, they may tell you that you got to keep the family business if you want the money, or your children will get a chance and they will get double time the what's in the trust fund. So the children also get the chance to continue the family business. And remember what I said about business, right? But with new money, um, basically you have a dilemma. And she said I have option to continue this business or not, and anyway I get the money in the trust. But she has a dilemma what to do with her life, and that returned me to astrology and the videos I was talking about. And you could watch my Nike's video, and the fact that every business has a karma. So right now the big karma is on the medical field. Anything medical field, anything, any use of any debt, any in slavery through debt. Okay, the karma is on such business. And again, it's becoming worse before it becomes better, like holistic medicine. Okay, it's just like you see it in a wider and wider phenomena, and then that is coming up to be the dredging up to be purged. um, so any business to do with child trade through debt and um, espionage and stuff like that, the big karma is coming for that, and that's in the MK Ultra. Okay, um, and there's a giant karma coming for that. And so if you are in this business, that would be one thing you could do. And I take the example of Nike. Nike was growing business, and they had the problem like every other business of slavery, of abuse, of intimidation, I think even sexual harassment. So one thing you can do is to tend to that. Okay, stop that, stop to change the organizational culture. And if you change for the organizational culture, it's going to be different to regain trust. But if you say, okay, I'm doing that because, hey, that's something that was before, and now we're changing that, and we change the business model. So this is a new value that you bring at this time. And with you and a better per se, people are going to buy into that if it's real, but it's going to fuck you over if it's not. So it's not the image, it's Taurus, it's not Libra. Okay, Libra, you can play on the image, and sometimes the image shows an essence. Okay, if I put on, you see that beautiful Rebecca, she puts on makeup on my face, and my true nature shows up even more. Okay, it's accentuating of my own distinct looks and distinct beauty, which I get to see is very unique. Okay, it is something that combines features that feminine and masculine, and deep sensitivity, and also intense rage. Okay, for all the right reasons. But I can look at myself and see myself as a more beautiful when I tend to the image, and that's essential. Okay, it's not hiding my image; it's actually accentuating my image, and this is a good work of art. But when we talk about Taurus, we talk about something that's incredibly inner, that is working from, okay, the other polarity is Scorpio. So we're genuinely talking about abolishing not just the image of the culture, not just on a juristic level, but genuinely on a deep cultural transformational level, that dumb fuckery won't happen in your business. It's a huge, if you tend to, this is what Saturn is asking for you to do. If you tend to that, then the makeover would be just like Nike. Okay, if we had Jupiter, which rules feet, now in Gemini, it's a good time for feet that align the toes. Okay, and to put my toe aligners as I speak. And then we go to Jupiter Cancer. There, the use of reflexology in the soles. Okay, to tend to diabetes or lymph flow. Okay, and then Scorpio, blood flow. And so through the shoes, you can look at the astrology, see, okay, what rules shoes? Well, Pisces, what's in Pisces now is Saturn. So that's structure, that's bones, that's skin. And what's ruling you the feet? Well, that would be Jupiter. And so where is Jupiter now? In Gemini. So that's the fingers, the toes, again, the skin, the technique, technology that is in favor of toe aligning. But we are after Jupiter in Taurus. So Taurus will bare feet on the soil. Okay, so bare feet shoes. So we accentuate on that. Okay, what happens when you walk with barefoot in the city? Well, at least align your freaking toes and do changes in the city, gardening in the city. Okay, that shit. And so this is what you, if you are, for example, if you are new money, but also if you are old money. If you're old money and you're like, hey, the business will be having karma, what do I do about this? Okay, and every I can say I have been trying if I want to have like the milk right now, if you would choose, I would go for almond milk, but not the processed stuff you buy. And to make it myself is kind of challenging. I definitely would prefer to have somebody making almond milk for me, and then maybe in batches, so I can buy it from like a person that makes it, and then have my morning coffee with almond milk, and at the same time make sure that the cows and the cattle that is used is being well treated. That would be something that I would definitely like to do, rather than say, oh, I'm going to take off all meat and then eat just cancer cells. And that's my own growth, okay, around this topic. So it is okay if you have to tend to certain karma in your business right now, and the type of business that you are doing, and the type of karma that is, when is karma up to. So right now Saturn, for example, that's ruling karma, is in Pisces. So we said, okay, shoes, we get the Nike's picture. Now everybody said, well, this is a blood ritual that they do and so on, and Nike's everywhere. And the digitation process didn't work as they threw up the other guy. And but we can also see how the World Health Organization threw up a person that was owning a company and just discarded of him and went caputo Goldie, okay, the entire company. But we can fix that karma if we tend to whatever is needed to tend to. Okay, so whether there is still child labor, whether we can change, okay, for the shoes that are more fitting, whether we can go, I mean, Nike is supporting, so when I'm listening to Jaguar Wright, I see that they're supporting some of the people. And hey, there's a lot of things that can be done to correct the karma. And then we're going to go to Aries, and Aries is the weapon industry. Okay, so we're going right from the medical welfare and the medical industry karma, and that would be also the drug dealers, drug families. But the karma is also that we see that you cannot do cold cases. Okay, kind of like what the Freeze family did. You cannot do cold cases without being vouched for. And then when you look at cold cases, when you do what Peter did, like if you don't want to, unless you have a ton of essential oils like me, you're susceptible to a lot of dumb fuckery, and you both need to be vouched for, and you might need to get high sometimes. Okay, I'm not saying that he did, but that's just something that you need to take it into consideration. So we can have more understanding and more grace and more, also the myths we had on who is the person who having substance issue or alcoholic. And yet, if we go back to listening to Darren, growing, like we can't have a situation that a child grows into a person that can beat him out of the blue, even though that person has a story, and that child just has to deal with that, not knowing what is safety until he's 52, and now learning what is safety in the middle of a world war. So when the candidate that would represent him best is MK Ultra as well. So and yeah, and many more. But the thing is that um, if you are in this situation of old money, new money, should I continue the business? A good look at an astrology chart would be beneficial. And I know that so many astrologers are within these Masonic cults and whatever this and whatever that. So I think what would be best is to begin to learn about this yourself. Because I can easily say, I can give you a reading. Okay, I can give you a reading. What do I charge you today? Okay, and you know what kind of business you are dealing with. So what do I charge you today? You understand you understand my question. It's changing time. If there is karma for your business, then that means you're gonna need leverage, and basically to get this information you kind of like need to give leverage. But if we can talk about a change, okay, that needs to be made, but then if you have a business, then business like the type of business people would put trust funds into, I think speaking out as I speak right now is kind of like is more benefic, because I wouldn't want to put either of us in a situation where you tell me this and this is the problem is in my business, and we try to look for an astrological solution where there's no private conversations, and that's a problem. But I do want to pay the emphasis that the assassination through debt, assassination through medical, assassination through sexpionage, through all these things, assassination through child trafficking, assassination in the name of a religion, all those business, they have karma now. And what would be the correction? Then you first of all tend to that, tend to your feet, okay, because Pisces is feet. Tend to your feet, align your feet, do your pedicure, and whether you do it alone or you do it with others, get your toes separators, get your feet on bare soil, okay. Tend to your feet, and you will be seeing changes. Okay, one of the things I like to make is oil for my feet. And it began with me having a toenail fungi. Okay, it began with neglect. Simply put, it began with intense neglect. And it wasn't that I was neglecting myself, it's just that as I was tending to what I was tending to, I realized what was happening. A ton of helplessness, a ton of trauma, the many times in my upbringing, okay, the fact that we had kind of like a North Korean, in Israel, you would have this morning, they call it misdar, where you have to stand for an hour sometimes every, like, I don't know, week or month or holiday or whatever. And I couldn't stand on my feet, like, very simply put. Nobody believed me because I was a young girl, and I would be an athlete, so nobody believed me. They thought I was being disrespectful. Okay, so all these memories come as I tend to my feet. One oil I really like is eucalyptus, and it's usually very easy to reach. And you want, again, a distillery that is private as much as you can, okay? As much as you can. You mix it a little bit, and you can put it on your nails, okay? You can put it on your nails, because around your nails, and that creates change, Okay, again, if you have like, there's some signals in that or something like that, okay, the eucalyptol. So, be careful around children, be careful, like all the things that you should be careful from, you already know. But that's one thing where you create your own personal space and you begin to create a change. Tinctures are excellent. Okay, if you have a tincture, that would be fantastic. And then you begin to watch what happens. Okay, what memories come up, what topics come up. Right now, Jupiter is in my fourth house, so thing to do with housing, real estate. The ruler is in my second house, so business. The wound around speech. Okay, the fact that I don't have some. The wound around speech is basically helping me not to speak when I can't speak, when people will only gaslight me, but yes, to speak when I need to speak. Okay, and learning more about that and curating my speech, and standing up for my rights, and the many talismans that adjoin that. So, and tending to the housing problem, and I see all kinds of things happening on that level. Okay, you speak with people and they live somewhere. Just today I ran on Facebook, there was a woman who bought a house in Haifa. She bought an apartment, then she moved in. Of course, you buy an apartment, you invest your soul and heart and wallet and savings and boli calls into that. And then she had someone moving in to an apartment underneath, and that person began to harass her about every single noise that she didn't even make in the apartment. Now, one thing can be possible, that person moved in from Germany, and they're used to that in Germany. Okay, instead of having like more space, building a house with more space, they are used to, they gotten used to, and that creates a holocaust for the Germans themselves, because they have gotten used to residence situation where if one person, mixes the tea with a spoon, then the other neighbor hears that, and that's already offensive, so they don't want to call the cops. Okay, and it really is offensive, it really is challenging, but the point is not to keep quiet, but rather to have living space, which is not a rude word, so that people can have a little bit of peace of mind and ease. And yes, our living situation affects us a lot. So yeah, that woman could be that German woman that is used to that type of residence. Another option is that the woman who bought the apartment did nothing, and they sent somebody to begin to bother the people so that they would move out. Now this lady just bought the apartment, and I know that, and they do way worse things, okay, and half Dutch, and with the house flippers, they send people. And then lo and behold, before you know that, one sudden day your apartment looks like a big giant mess. And they would always send a person that in the beginning, maybe they were homeless, maybe they were this, maybe they were that. So they live in that apartment. And then they try to run a havoc on your apartment, and that person is poor. Okay, they've been sent to the street or to another apartment, or to recruit, or to push drugs, or to crime, or to be trafficked or so. And you think that it's the tenant, and you begin to blame the tenant, and you're like, I need. And then there's a company that offers you to check the tenants. Okay, so that's an entire industry. Okay, just that. Okay, just Jupiter, just tending to my feet when Jupiter is in my fourth house, and with my own housing situation, kind of seeing, oh, wait, yeah, we have an issue here. I've been tending to that. I'm continuing on to tend to that. And if you were the people that expected your tenants to pay the rent, now you have another thing, because your city can be Maui any day. Look at Amsterdam. Okay, what happened in Amsterdam? Okay, so they send a group of people maybe to vandalize, but if they did vandalism, then you send the police in, right? Yeah, and then they send another group of people to throw them in the river. So you don't throw a person who does vandalism into the river, okay, to die. That I think, that's something that there's a difference. Vandalism is vandalism, and sending people to die. That's not something that you do. But it was done, and it's given Kristallnacht, but it's not Kristallnacht against the Jews. This is just the kind of thing they do when they want to take a hold over a city so that people will move out of Amsterdam. But from out of Amsterdam, if you live in Amsterdam, there really is nowhere to go for you. Okay, if you're a city person, you're living in Amsterdam, there's no invoke the second. I like really, there's no way, there's nowhere to go for you. Okay, it's just saying that because when they want to take a hold over a city, then if you have a property and you believe the tenants will pay your mortgage, what they're gonna do is they're gonna Nova the place up, or they're gonna Maui the place up, and you're gonna be left with debt. Okay, so you gotta tend to that juristically right now, because if you invested and you want now, but this begins with the fact that you said, oh, I'm going to take a loan and invest, and the tenants will pay the rent, and you did that because you were a tenant and you thought, let somebody else deal with that. Okay, then this is a bit karma on your business, but at least for the future generation. That lady was not like that. That lady bought a house for her to live in. She came to live in her own house. So she was not trying to make business or human trafficking. This is the meaning of taking a loan, to have another person paying for the housing. It's human trafficking, my dear. Okay? Just to set the record straight, that person dependent on paying you money to not be in the street, this is human trafficking. Okay, to buy a house is one thing. To rent a place, if I want to buy a house in a neighborhood, then I rent the place first and I go around in the neighborhood in the morning, in the evening, in the night. What is this place? How's the environment? What is the plans for the next 150 years, to make sure I want to settle in? Okay, what's the trajectory? That's a good reason to rent a house if you're planning to buy it. But other than that, to pay protection so that you will not be assaulted in the street is not good enough reason. This is human trafficking. Also to pay you, and you say yes. Also to pay. Again, there's nothing wrong if you pay a certain fee for a company that will come and do your lawn or something like that, or do something, make sure infrastructure is good in the area. But if they are able to evacuate you or to sanction you because of that, then this is a good time to invoke the second. By the way, speaking of which, another thing I saw in a shopping mall, Grand Canyon, but it's the Grand Canyon in Beersheba, there was a shop that was selling kind of weapons and stuff. And there was a woman came with her child, and the child was practicing shooting. Okay, so I paid attention, but they had some free candy. So I took some free candy and I told her, well, if anybody comes to evacuate you from your house, then now your child can invoke the second. But we understand exactly when they're training children to do that. And that was all the world symbolism. Just as with Tema Mundi, there are people who create solutions in favor of humanity. There are people who create training for children how to shoot guns. Okay? It's given Boko Haram, okay? It's given Brussels. No, I tell you what, it's given Boko Haram because Brussels is way deeper. Brussels the fucking Holocaust. Yeah. So anything more? Yeah. So going back to business, then you see what is the current karma. You tend to the current karma. You fix the current karma, and then you tend to your trajectory. Okay, so if you got shoes business, then you tend to that Jupiter. And you see Jupiter changes sign every year. So the work for your business has to be, if you got a mercurial business, okay, and you have the election for your business, it's true, but it's kind of like, what is this business about? And if you have a mercurial business, you're gonna be moving around strategies quite a lot. Okay. I do astrology naturally. When astrology is in my third house, then I've been doing a lot of stuff. Okay, I've been doing gardening. I've been doing tending to, like, third house is also the bathroom. I've been tending to my pets because the ruler of the sixth is in the third. To my podcast. Yes, and then Venus is there, so to Venus talismans. You've been doing a lot, but that dictates of what is Uranus. Now Uranus is slowly but surely ingressing to my fourth house this year, which is very likely be doing satanic ritual abuse, Freemasonry. And that preparation for that has been intense. So yeah, house. When I grow up, I build a house. I guess that's what it says. You gotta have housing. Okay, you gotta design your own living space and curate that. What's more going on? Yeah. I tended to Moon Chiron in Aries. This is also the sign of war, or when you have to assert yourself, the I am, your identity. And we tend to that. Okay, and a lot of people had to assert their boundaries, and with Mars going the back and forth with Pluto, that's the damn thing. A lot of people had to be taking care of their own image. Okay, because Mars in Leo is about image, is about how you look. Also in Cancer, um, but this is about how you look. And Sun and Scorpio, there's this reception between the Sun and Mars that kind of allows us to delve deeper into our image, our performance, our leadership skills. And there's still this very intense confrontation with the corporation, with the hidden corporation, okay? So a lot of people have been asserting themselves. A lot of people that have been canceled are working their way through that, working on their image. And then and then it's just these confrontations which are very visible. If you look at the parade that was in Amsterdam, you understand the visibility of that, and the major, design of a Kristallnacht that was standing to something. But this is a good reminder of the IDF soldiers that were wearing red dresses, and nobody likes to hear it. But hey, if IDF was not infiltrated, it wouldn't look. It's like, if how did Bibi say? If it looks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it probably, if it looks like a cult and it dresses like a cult, then it probably is a cult. Okay, but up until now, people have been judging women who dress a certain way as women that are inviting certain things. And what about the fact that an army is dressed a certain way, be it NAVO or IDF or whomever, is showing us certain things, that they're not going to take care of us, and of our safety and of our security, and they're probably not our army. Okay, that needs to be said as well. Just like the police that doesn't tend to vandalism, okay, until it becomes a Kristallnacht and everybody's asking, where is the police, is a part of something. Um, And now we have a vision. Okay, we can have a juxtaposition of the Kristallnacht of the Maccabia in Amsterdam with the Ajax and Maccabi Tel Aviv, and we have the IDF sitting looking like the red picture of the king, the new king that had the horns on it, and this is all Aries, right? The horns of Aries. Okay, so you put that one next to that one, and understand it's the same cult, same visuals. Okay. Um, yeah, and it's one of the things that Rebecca person suddenly told me when she got programmed. Was when I talked about my makeup, so I was trying to look more like, how can you make it look more like, you being put together. And she said the word normative, and I said, no, the way I am is normative. The way you look is not normative, because, and I didn't continue on, but to be doing that amount of makeup, and I was down about telling her, when I grew up, I'm 40, I grew up in a generation where we used to say, oh, in history, women would put a lot of makeup and a lot of this, and it's coming back. And she says, yeah, now makeup is a big deal. And that's very important. But when you put the word normative around makeup, you understand you're talking with North Korea right now, and there's like Rebecca phone home. Okay? But it's very difficult to phone home where the housing situation is a bit trafficky. But what I like about Elizabeth April prediction is that this dumb fuckery is going to be exposed. And it kind of is, Comes up to the housing, then second by any means necessary. If that comes, courts have an expiration date. Okay, first time when it happened in 2007, then again, the person was mind controlled themselves. They were living with their parents, kind of like my resident situation right now, except they had it. And that was a person who's approaching his 30s. So it was not because of his lack of competence to find a house. He was a musician and he was working a daytime job. That was the housing situation in Germany. He had to get married to rent an apartment, and then you can understand that in this situation it's very difficult to have a stable, loving relationship. And when he goes to therapy, a psychologist, she tells him all kinds of nice and smart things, but when it comes to attraction, she doesn't have anything to say. And it's like, okay, so you're supposed to be with a person you're not attracted to because of the personality, and I'm like, and then he tries to get to know people, and it doesn't really work. So I've been trying to blame myself, and literally like got into a deed situation, like literally completely in mind control, which the combat was an intense backlash that probably shocked his entire psyche for decades. Not decades, but definitely a decade, because it's like putting all his violence back to sender, and that was just a person who was trying to live their life and do some music, okay? And they got mixed up with some cult or shit. I don't know what the dumb fuckery, like, I don't judge, but for me that was intense trauma, and I see that he tries to see what's going on, and then he has another personality where he gets on the nerves, and I try to see what goes on and what happened. And it's only from war veterans that I will learn slowly but surely what happened. Until when Jack talked about MK Ultra, then she began, she said, well, it's not a real this, if they do that, and what can you do about it? But then she began to say it's everywhere. Because she's frustrated from that dumb fuckery too, and she wants that to end as well. It's just the person try to live her life as anyone. And the veteran said, well, it is real. They were doing that on the army first. I got news for you, darling. They were doing that in satanic ritual abuse way before the soldiers. I mean, Wilders Wilders was born in 1963, right? Talking about the Cold War, they were doing it in the army for the Cold War. Yes, but the people that were doing the Cold War, okay, so of course you felt that in the army because you got recruited to the army, but before that they were doing that to children. So um, yeah, but they said they were doing that on us, and I'm like, yeah, that's why veterans helped me, because they understood about PTSD, and they could relate to what I was writing when I wasn't even in control of what I was writing, and there was no. I went to psychologists. It's like, yeah, everybody has a little bit of like emotional blackmail, emotional extortion in relation. And I'm like, no, darling, that's not that. But I could barely see her, so she sent you to psychiatrist, and they give you certain pills, and these pills are not really doing anything, and you're like, just so I won't take the entire pack, and it won't kill me. I'll just leave it, and there's no help. Okay, so you try to look on the internet, and it was the veterans that began to curate themselves from the MK Ultra. So you can say there's a little bit of a closure now, because that's been done on people. And then what would come back is a wreckage, is a person that you could call borderline or narcissist. And instead of us having communication, then the men were taught to take that on the women, and the women, unfortunately, some of them, I think, were taught to take that on the men. Okay, and so, and that's what's up, and that perpetuates war, and that's the cold divisions. Okay, the divide and conquer. This is what they do. But yeah, the first time it happened to me, of course, I was in that dumbfuckery. Okay, but then you climb up from that, and you see what's on. So first you see what's on in relations, then it's like, I didn't even think about the music industry, because I was just singing for my own joy. And then you see stuff, at work, and you're like, I'm not gonna cope with that. And you see stuff in university, and you're like, I'm not gonna cope with that. And then you see stuff with the activism for peace, V15, and I'm like, I'm not gonna cope with that. And then you see stuff in more and more places. Then you go to do a manicure, and it's butterflies, and the agendas against like the forced hospitalizations of butterflies, and everybody butterfly, and that butterfly is MK Ultra. Then more and more people begin to pay attention. Okay, more and more people begin to pay attention, and they see that something is really off, and they don't know how to combat. So now we're the veterans that help each other, okay, to combat that dumbfuckery. And that's it does create different types of relations, but that is what is on. And so I think this vlog has been very, packed with events that are going on. Just honing in on that Moon Chiron. Okay, it's sextile in Jupiter and in the mystic rectangle here. The good thing about that becoming like a little bit of a pandemic is that now you less and less people can ignore it. And for people say, why didn't you stop it when it was little? Well, yeah, then I said no to corrupt workplaces, and I said, well, I'll add my mama's book and write a screenplay with someone, and then I'll, record myself singing for the joy of it, and you get this full-blown cult in Germany. Okay. And I'm like, what now? Okay, where do I go now? So it's very difficult to stop that when first of all you have to conceptualize of what is going on. I didn't understand that what that Itamar psychologist did was satanic ritual abuse. I didn't. Also, what that Chris guy did. He was a great musician. Chris Red, great musician. But but you know, the mind control is off the charts, and is not to blame, because people like that are more sensitive to energies. Okay, I had a best friend is very, very, very sensitive to energy, so much so when I had a crystal, then I need to see if it's clean or not. I was like, hey, can you hold that for me? Is that clean? Is that not clean? Okay, so um so that's what happens to people. Okay, that breaks down literally everyone, and then people will be busy blaming their ex, or blaming this, or blaming their ex. Okay, for many things, or alternatively trying to look up the solution to their stuff, and then you think it's the upbringing, it's the this, it's the family, it's the it's the nation, it's the history, it's everything. It's everything. Then you run to your politicians. So one person wanted to be a pianist, and another person wanted to be David Bowie or something, and you're like, oh my god, that's so fucking relatable. It's like, did you? And the joke when I was in academia, that joke that that other MK Ultra guy told us, that runs up. There was a U.S. president um, that later went to academia, and they asked him, well, why'd you leave? Like, why'd you? Oh, sorry, there was used is president that was in academia first, and then he went to be president, and he said, well, why did you leave the academic institution? And he said, I got sick of all the politics. And the head of NATO is more accommodating than like my department. I said what I said. Okay. Okay, so both of them would get mind control episodes. But that's just something that, instead of saying we live with, it's like, oh well, we tend to that, one bricks at a time. And there was this lovely conversation in NATO with Blinken about North Korea joining in with the Russian forces, but he said Putin has to pay for it. And I said what I said, you comment to that. There's nothing more to comment to that. It's like these North Korean soldiers, they come from a country that looks like a giant tombstone. And they're not gonna want to go back, but they're also not gonna want to make Europe like North Korea, because like they've been there. But they would want citizenship. If we give, like, if we give them, saunas, um, then maybe we can recruit them to NATO. I don't know. Yeah. Um, but that's the wounds around war. This pretty thing is happening not too far from my Mercury and NATO's Rahu. Yeah, root is moon, right? But it's a Mars opposing moon, which is shit fucking annoying. It needs to be remedied. Having Mars moon hard aspects, or Mars in Cancer, is, wow. It's something that I'm dealing with in my Navamsha, and I haven't found the answer. I haven't found the answer. Um. Okay. Let's talk about the reptilians that are tending to agendas. You're not imagining. If you run into that, you're not imagining. Just keep going. Okay. Keep calm and abolish ritual abuse. Okay. And espionage, sexpionage, whatever that is, it's just abuse for people. Um, but you see, that's being exposed. That's where the karma is arriving. As who was the guy that said at Lincoln? Okay, you can fool some of the people some of the time. We cannot fool all the people all the time. We are fortunate in this time in history because these are the times where they try to fool all the people all the time, and that is surely going to, that is going to fail. Massively and collapse all these structures, which then, if we were thinking about like the world becoming a North Korea, then like the soldiers coming from North Korea, they just got out of the tomb, so they got this like this children are out of the caves. Okay. And then there is the question of people doing. Okay, here's the thing. Think about Palestinians getting out of 75 years of um, uh, open air prison, and talk about their olive trees to city people. Okay. Like what do you like what the fuck do you know about what's been on in Tel Aviv? Do you live there? When they kidnapped the children, like in Israel, I said, well, we gotta tend to missing children, missing people, and then to ritual abuse and human sacrifice, and lo and behold, the children are like my head of NATO, my leaders in Netherlands, my leaders in Israel. The business people that I watched was Musk or Trump, that is also politician. My influencers, the music I've been listening to, the music that I'm growing to listen to, like those are the children. The fuck did I know that happens in Brussels? Okay, so if anybody's building on that was done to us, now we're gonna do that to you, prepare for a reality check. You don't know what was done to what. Okay. Anybody who's in the mindset of what you did to us, now we're gonna do to you, prepare for a reality check. And that's the point. The point is not what you did to us, is what we do to you. The point is, how we get out of that fuckery. Um, yes. Oh, look at this 22-degree midheaven in Pisces. And Seife. What's the date? Just so, yeah. No, tomorrow is Peter Fest. Tomorrow is Peter Fest. Seife. Okay. What? I don't think I have necessarily anything to say about that. Tomorrow is Peter Fest. And, it's in essence, when we run into what is MK Ultra, dumbfuckery, secret societies things, you gotta defend yourself by any means necessary. And at the same time, stay humble. Okay? Defend yourself by any means necessary. And stay humble, because they grew up into that. So that's all, right? Yes, that means the sun will be in 22 degrees Scorpio tomorrow. Going over my Mars. Look at that vertex. Going over my Mars. So, yeah, we haven't moved. So yeah, it doesn't mean to forget. It doesn't mean to ignore. It doesn't mean to discount. It doesn't mean to discredit the horrors that were done. It does mean, well, how do we stop that? Well, abolish satanic ritual abuse. How do we stop that? Well, honor feminine and a masculine. How do we stop that? Well, balance the elements. Okay. How do we stop that? Expose the dumb fuckery. Right? And that's it. Okay, defend yourself by any means necessary and stay humble when it comes to, like, yeah, that person being through horrors. Okay. And tend to solutions. Okay, tend to that as much as you can, and that's how we build something that is life full, rather than enslaved or enslaving. A free person needs not oppress another. And when we have a Masonic that is actually free, we need not oppress another. Okay, Masonry that's actually free need not oppress another. These are the structures we are living in with all that energy. So you can feng shui that shit, but the essence is Masonry, and the free person needs not oppress another. Every person, man, woman, two gender non-conforming, are born free. And that's the meaning of freedom. Free is where you need not oppress another. And where the structures need to support that. So I would say tomorrow, okay, but that would be early and belated happy birthday, Pete.